should go back.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Eunice. In this video, I'm going to be teaching us how to make this stylish flare gown. This is actually a gown and it can still be a top because you can see that I have a skirt underneath. So you can wear it as a top and have your skirt under, or you can wear it as a gown. The upper bodies of this gown is a princess armhole bustier, and you see how beautiful it is. And it has these beautiful pleats on the neckline area. You see? I also have it on the sleeves, and it is a basic sleeve. Can you see how my lace trimming is beautifully decorated here? The second sleeve is the same as well. And then the down part of the flare, you can also see the beautiful pleats we have here, which is actually making this gown really stylish. I hope this is something you're interested in learning. If this is it, please make sure to click on the subscribe button if you haven't done so. Click on the subscribe button. Subscription is free, and ensure to put on your notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. So let's get right into the video. And before I forget, feel free to share this video, like this video, leave a comment if you have any. So let's get right into the video. So here are the materials we're going to be using for this project, and this is an African print fabric. And I also have this lace trimming. We'll be using the lace trimming to decorate the strip we're going to pleat on the top, okay? So the measurements needed for this project will appear on your screen. So having seen the measurement, I'm going to start with drafting the flare, which is the biggest part. So, and this flare is a 180 flare. So to determine the length of the flare, I'm going to subtract the half length from the entire length of the top or the gown. Okay, and the length of the gown is 41 inches. The half length of my client is 19 inches. So I'm going to subtract 19 inches from 41 inches, and that will leave me with 22 inches. So the length of our flare is going to be 22 inches. So plus 1 inch for hemming allowance and joining at the upper part. So I'm going to have 23 inches. So the next thing we want to get is the radius of the flare. And to get the radius of the flare, I'm going to use the waist circumference. The waist circumference we're working with is 44 inches. So 44 divided by 3.14, that will give us the radius of the flare. So 44 divided by 3.14, that gave me 14.0. So that's 14 inches. So meaning that the radius is going to be 14 inches. So I'll add this 14 inches to the length of this flare. So that means 14 plus 23, and see, that's 37. So I need a length of 37 inches to get the flare. So I'll fold 37 in two places and show us how to draft it. So this is my length of 37 inches. Can you see? I'm measuring using the savage. So I will hold it at this point and fold over. So that means I want 37 in two places. So can you see? So 37 is folded into two. You see? So this is my 37. It's not up to it, so I'll just readjust it. So these are 37 in two places. So having gotten that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to form a triangular shape. See, I have 37 in two places, then I'll fold it this way. You see? So I'm forming a triangle shape. This is what I have here. So having formed the triangle, now the next thing I'm going to do is to enter the radius, which is this 14 inches. So from the apex of this triangle, I'm going to measure 14 inches. Make sure that your tape does not leave this point. So you can see that I have my 14 inches. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to measure the length of 23 inches, which is the length of the flare. So you can see where my 23 inches is stopping. It's stopping exactly at the measurement, that's this fold I have underneath. I hope we understand. So I'll place my tape from here and mark 23 inches. Just make sure that you are following the curve. The curve. So this is what the down part is going to look like. So now go ahead and cut it out. Take note that when you measure everything from here, can you see that I have my 37, which is radius plus length of the flare. So go ahead and cut it out. Then I'll also cut the length of the flare here. Our flare looks like. So now I want us to take note of this measurement here. Do you see? What do I have here? I have 11 and 3/4. Remember I said the waist circumference we're working with is 44 inches. So if I have 11 and 3/4, remember my fabric is folded into 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that means that now what has happened, I now have 11 and 3/4. 11 and 3/4 times 4. That will give me 11.75, which is 11 and 3/4 times 4. So that will give me 47 inches, meaning I have extra 3 inches because the waist circumference is 44. So meaning I have extra 3 inches. So that 3 inches, 1.5 on this side, 1.5 on the other side. That means I have my zip allowance. So working with this formula always gives you your zip allowance. I always say that. So you don't need to add zip allowance when using the 3.1 formula or the 6.28 if you are making a full circle. So we're going to drop this aside and draft the upper part. So I folded my fabric to draft the upper bodies. I used the biggest measurement which I'm working with, and that's the bust circumference. I divided it by 4 and then added 4 inches to that measurement so that it can be enough for our dart intake. So the first line I have here is the shoulder line. The second is the chest line. And how did I come about the chest line? I divided the bust by 6 plus 2.5. You get your chest line. Next is the bust point, the under bust, and then the half length, which is the waist line. So having marked these lines, the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark half of the shoulder measurement. And the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 17 inches. Half of it is 8.5 plus half inch for joining the sleeve. So that's 9 inches. So I'll mark here on 9 inches. And then still on the shoulder line, I'm going to mark a neck width of 4 inches. So here at the shoulder measurement, I'm marking a shoulder slant of 1.5. Okay. So having marked my shoulder slant of 1.5, so I'll come here to the chest line and still mark the shoulder measurement plus half inch for joining the sleeve. So that's 9 inches. Take note that my fabric is on fold. So everything we are doing is quarter of the front. So the shoulder measurement we divided by 2, okay? So here I'll mark my 9 inches and then I'll connect it to have a straight line like this. So this is now our armhole line. So now I've come down by a shoulder slant of 1.5. So what I will do is at this chest line, I will go up by 3 inches. And then at this 3 inches mark, I'll mark 3/4 of an inch. This is to eliminate any kind of bulge around the armhole area. So I'll use my armhole curve to connect it, my straight ruler to connect it to the shoulder tip here. And then to curve it to the armhole here, I'll enter 1/4 of the bust measurement on the chest line. So I'll curve it nicely. So just curve it to finish on the chest line. So now this is our front armhole. So I'll come here and mark the nipple to nipple measurement, half of the nipple to nipple plus ½ inch for joining. So that's 5 inches. So I'll mark 5 inches here, 5 inches. So I marked it on the bust line, the under bust, and the waistline. So I'm going to connect with a straight line. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to enter the bust measurement. Bust divided by 4, I'm going to mark it here. And then here on the under bust, to determine our dart intake, the difference between the bust and the under bust determines the dart intake. And here, what we have at the bust here, when you divide the bust by 4, it gives us 13. When you divide the under bust by 4, it gives us 11. So the difference is 2 inches. So I'll use that 2 inches to tighten the under bust and the waistline. So at this center part, I'll mark ½ inch here. I'll mark the same ½ inch here on the waistline as well. Then the remaining 1.5 inches I have, I'll mark it here. And then I'll mark it here as well. So that's a total of 2 inches. And that's a total of 2 inches here also. Okay. So now at the bust line here, I'm going to come down by 3/4 of an inch. And then I'll bring in my armhole curve and connect to this part that from the under bust to the 3/4 inch I came down here by. And then I'll do the same thing at this side. I'm going to connect from the under bust to this point. So I haven't connected my markings. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to get the midpoint of this armhole. I'll just fold my tape into 2, and here is the midpoint. So this midpoint, I'm going to come down by 3/4 inch. So you can see this is the midpoint and I came down by 3/4 inch. So I'll place my armhole like this. I want to connect it to 3/4 inch above the bust point line. So above the bust point line, I'll go up by 3/4 inch as well. So I'll place my armhole curve like this, and then I'll mark. And you see? And then I'll also mark. I'll connect it now to the 3/4 inch I came down here also by. So these are armhole darts that will be cutting out, and you can see these are waist darts that will be cutting out. Okay, so now this 3/4 inch I have here, I'll have to replace it back here because when we cut it out, we're going to have a shortage. So I'll bring it back to this side. So I'll return the 3/4 inch at this side. So now the next thing we're going to do is to enter all our measurements, our horizontal measurements. So here on the bust line, the bust divided by 4, I'll mark it here. That's 13 inches. So plus 2 inches for my sewing allowance. I need ½ inch to join this part and this part. So that's a total of 1. I'll add down 1 inch. So that when I'm done, I'm left with my 2 inches. So here on the waistline, I'll divide the waist by the under bust line. The under bust divided by 4 is 11. The dart intake I have here is 2 inches. I'll have to return it back. And then I'll add the same 2 inches sewing allowance. And I also need ½ inch to join the center and the side. So that's 1 inch. That means I'm adding 3 inches So the waist measurement, I'm going to repeat the same thing as well. Quarter of the waist measurement, that intake of 2, I'll return it back and then add my 3 inches. So that's that for this side. So here on the armhole line, that's the chest line, I'm going to add back that same 3 inches as I added for all the other side. So I'll mark that 3 inches. So now you can see that it will just open up a little. Can you see that shape? So now this is it. Because we are making an armhole princess bustier, by the time we join our center and our side, the side is likely to have a shortage because of this dart intake we have here. So I'm going to extend this particular line. We're cutting out this dart. So I'm extending this part that has the side. This is our center, C, and this is side. So I'm going to extend this part. So to know what to extend it with is the dart intake I have here, which is that 2 inches. So starting with this armhole line I have here, I'm just going to come out by 2 inches. And then I'm going to curve it to meet this end. Can you see? So this is a temporal armhole. We're going to reshape it when we have joined our pieces together. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to take out the difference between the front and back. The difference between the front and back length of my client is 2 inches. I'm going to mark that 2 inches here at the side. Take note of how I'm placing my tape from the waistline, and that's 2 inches. So I'll go up by 2 inches at the side here, and then I'm going to slant it to meet the first dart leg here. So this is what we have. So now the next thing we will do is to mark our neckline. I'm going to be using a neck depth of 5 inches. So I'll mark 5 inches here. I already have a neck width of 4 inches. So I'll bring in my armhole curve and connect the neckline like this. So we'll go ahead and cut it out, starting with the neckline. And then the shoulder slant. So I use the shoulder slant of 1.5 inches. This is so that it has that tight fitting, and then the back will lay over in front. So here we are. So now I'm going to cut out this dart. So these are centerpiece, you can see. So now I'm cutting out the armhole dart. So I'll follow this shape. So I'm not working with the old armhole or the original armhole. I'm working with the new armhole. So here. So I'll take out the side dart here, which is that 2 inches. I'll take it straight like this. So can you see? So our armhole dart is out and the waist dart is out. So this is what our piece looks like. So you can see. So by the time we join, this is the bust point. Let's notch the bust point first. Want to make sure that you notch the bust point and the under bust point. All these points are supposed to meet when you are joining them or when you are stitching them. Okay. Okay, so these are bust point. You can see they are matching up. So by the time we join it to the center piece, can you see? So can you see that extension that I extended? Can you see where the former armhole, that's the original armhole is? So by the time we join the center piece, this is where it will get to. So imagine that we didn't come out by this, there's going to be a big shortage. So this is replacing any form of shortage that we have. So when I'm done joining it, I'll just reshape the armhole and that's it. I'll just cut out this excess I have here. So now I'll place my fabric and cut out the back. The back is just a basic bodice. Okay, okay, I've drafted our basic bodies. It is just our normal basic body, our half scale basic bodies, and I've done several videos on this. So I don't want this video too long. That's why I did this off camera. So if you don't know how to draft the basic bodies, I'm going to drop the link in the description box so that you can watch and understand it. I'm just going to give us a brief explanation. So here I have my zip allowance, which is 1.5 from the center front, and from the center back here I have my zip allowance, which is 1.5. So all my measurements started from this line. So these are our starting line, which is the shoulder line. I entered half of the shoulder measurement plus half inch for joining the sleeve, so that brought me to 9 inches. From there I came down to mark the chest line, and this is our chest line. You can see I have my shoulder slant of 1 inch at the back. Remember, the front we use 1.5, but for the back I used 1 inch. This is so that the back can lay over in front and give us that nice fit. After doing that, I got the midpoint of the armhole line, and then I went in by half of an inch. I curved the armhole back and then I connected it here to the chest line after I've entered the bust measurement here on the chest line. And then I added my 2 inches for sewing allowance. On the waistline, I entered quarter of the waist measurement plus 2 inches for sewing allowance and 1 inch for dart. So you can see my dart intake of half inch on the side, half inch on the side here. Of course, I entered half of the nipple to nipple measurement. So that's how I marked my half inch here, half inch here. And then I connected it to half inch below the chest line. Very simple. And then here at the waistline, I came in by half inch for my zip allowance. This is to eliminate zipper bulge. So I'll be cutting this out. And then this is the neck depth. I use a neck depth of 3 inches for the back, and then the same neck width as I used for the front. So the back is really simple, so I'll go ahead and cut it out now. And I entered the back half length. The back half length, remember I said the front half length is 19 inches plus half inch for joining the down part, so that's 19.5. So for the back here I use 17.5, which is a difference of 2 inches. Can you see? So our back half length is 17.5. So this is what our back piece looks like. So I'll notch the part where I have the dart, and then you want to make sure to measure the dart so that you can write it down. The length of the dart is 6.5 inches. So when I'm sewing my dart, I will not pass 6.5 inches. That's where my dart is supposed to stop. So this is what our back piece looks like. Can you see? So very simple. So I'm going to place this aside. Okay, I've cut the basic sleeve, and this is the lining and this is the main fabric. The lining is 2 inches shorter than the main fabric. This is so that we can hem it this way. So my hemming allowance is 2 inches. Like I already said, if you don't know how to draft a basic sleeve, I already dropped the link in the description box so that you can watch and learn how to draft and cut a basic sleeve. Or you can check through my channel, you will see how to draft a video on how to draft a basic sleeve. So I'll set the sleeve aside, and then I also went ahead to cut my lining for the front bodice, and then also for the back. I've ironed my stay and paper stay to lining and both fabric. So here's our back piece also. Thing I'm going to do now, you can see I have these strips. This strip, when I cut it, it was 3 inches. Can you see? And then I went ahead to fold the two edges. This is for us to create that design on the down part and on the sleeve and also on the neck, that's on the chest area. So the length of this fabric was, okay, yes, that's the length. The length was 3 inches, and I folded here quarter inch and quarter inch again, quarter inch and quarter inch again. So that's half half on this side. So I'm left with 2 inches, and I have three of them. This is as long as 140, and I have this in three places. I'll be using it for the hem of the flare, and I'll be using it on the neckline and as well as the sleeve. So having folded it, now this is what I'm going to do with this lace trimming I have. I'm going to place it here at the tip here, and then I will top stitch my lace trimming. You see, I'm just going to top stitch it all the way to the end of this 144 that I have. I will also repeat the same thing on this side. So I'm going to have the lace trimming on both sides, here and here. I'll do that for the other pieces, that's for the other strips that I have. And then I'll show us how to create the pleats at the down part, how I'm going to pleat it at the down part. So I'm done stitching the lace trimming to both sides of the strip, and this is what I have. And see, it's already coming out beautiful. So this is how I'm going to place it at the hem of the flare. These are our flare. So I'm going to place it this way. Yes, I'm placing the wrong side of the strip facing the right side of the flare. So pleat it this way. You want to make sure that it aligns with the hem of the flare. And take note that I've already hemmed my flare. So I'm just going to pin here at this point. So now I'll go ahead, I'll give a space of about 3 inches before I create the first pleat. So this is it. This is my 3 inches here. And then I'm going to pleat it this way. Just 1 inch pleat, really small. You don't need to do too much. I don't need it to be so much because this will consume plenty strip, okay? So this is it here. Okay. So you can see I've pinned it. So now I'll start creating my pleats. So I'll give a space of 3 inches from the side here. Okay. So this is where 3 inches ends, and then I'm going to create a pleat. Just 1 inch. I'm creating 1 inch pleats. So I'm just going to eyeball it. Can you see? So I'm pinning it down, and then I will also create another pleat like this. So you can see that it's inverted pleats, so they are facing each other. Can you see? Just 1 inch. And I've done the first one. So I'm going to give a space of 3 inches again from the pleat, and then I'll create another one. 1 inch again. And then I'll pleat this way to face it like this. Give a space of 3 inches again and do the same thing. This is what I'll keep doing till I get to the end of this flare. So you can see. Okay, so I thought to show us how I'll be pleating on the neckline, that's on the chest area here. So first I went ahead to get the midpoint of the shoulder, and that's what I have notched here. Can you see? I've notched it already. And then from that midpoint I came here to the center front. I came down by 3 inches from the neckline, that's from the neck depth here, by 3 inches, and then I created a curve just with my free hand and connected it to this midpoint. And I'm repeating the same thing on this side. Can you see? And then to this midpoint. So this is my strip that I'll be pleating here. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to just fold into two like this. And when I have the fold into two, that's the midpoint, I'll make sure that it aligns with the midpoint I have here. You see? So then, having pinned it there, I'll come down by 3 inches first. And you see my 3 inches here, and then I'll begin to create my pleats from there. So I'm just creating my 1 inch pleats. I'm going to follow this curved shape I created. So I'll pleat this way, just the same way I created the pleats for the down part that I already showed us. You see? So I'm going to measure another 3 inches. So here is my next 3 inches, and then I'll pleat. And then now for this side, you want to make sure that it's following the curved shape. You see that I just removed it so that it's going to curve nicely. So, and then I'll pleat the next one here also, like this. Then I'll measure 3 inches again. So this is my 3 inches here, and then I'll create the next pleat. So take note of what I'm doing. You can see how I'm curving on the line here. You see, you want to make sure that it just curves well. You see that? And then this side also, I'm going to do the same thing. I'll curve it nicely. So for this center, it's going to create like a V shape. Can you see what I have here? It's going to create a V shape for me here because this is curving this way now. And you can see that this V shape is exactly at the midpoint. This is our center front. So it's going to form exactly at the midpoint here. You see? So I'm going to keep doing this all the way to this end. So as you can see, I'm done pinning my pleats, and this is what we have. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine. Unlike the flare, I stitch the flare at the middle here. But for this one that is going to be on this chest area, I'm going to stitch it here at the tip of this lace trimming like this, and then I'll stitch it too like this. I want it to lay really flat and nice on the chest. So I'll stitch on top of the trimming, stitch on top of the trimming. So take note, you can see that this is just my main fabric without the lining. So by the time I'm done stitching it, I'll join the bustier together, and then I'll also join the lining and turn the neckline and come back and show us what we have. Okay, so these are upper bodies. I've joined the shoulders of the front and back. You can see how our bustier is sitting well, even though it's not padded. This is because it is tightened properly. Can you see? So this is what we have. So can you see? This is what we have. It's coming out really beautiful. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to reshape the armhole. So let's separate the front from the back. So remember that at this point, which is the center piece, our armhole is already correct. So all we need to do is to reshape the side piece. And this is where the armhole length should stop. That's the chest line, right? So now I'll bring in my armhole curve and just curve it. Can you see? You want to make sure you are following this particular, this where this center piece ends. You see that? So I'm just going to shape it like this. So this is where my excess is. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. You see? So this is what our armhole looks like. So I'm going to just fold it into two so that I can now trace out the second side, because the second side of the front must be the same thing as the other side. You see? So you can see the excess also. I'll just trim it out like this. So now this is what our front armhole looks like. You see? You can see my trimming. I stop stitched on it. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to sew the sleeves to the armhole. So these are sleeves. You can see that I've already sewn the trimming already my strip to it at the middle. You can see what is forming. And then I just left this one to come down here just to give us that extension, and here too. So in case you want to know how many inches I left here, it's about 6 inches. So you can see it's longer than the actual sleeve. And take note that I stitched it on the main Ankara fabric. So you can see this is what the back looks like. Can't see any stitch. So I made sure to hide everything so that it's very neat. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to sew the sleeves to the armhole. I'll notch the midpoint, and then I'm going to place it right side facing right side like this, and I'll stitch it all the way to this end. I'll repeat the same thing all the way to this end. I'll do the same thing for the other side, and then I'll go ahead and sew the flare to the, that's after shaping it with my sewing allowance. I'll sew the flare to the down part, and then I'll fix my zipper and come back and show us what we have. Okay, so here we are. This is what our flare gown looks like. It came out really beautiful. But there's something unique about this flare gown. It has a skirt underneath. Normally, we wear our flare gowns alone. It is either long or short, but this case is a short gown with a pencil skirt. So this is actually changing, or it has completely changed the vibe. It's giving this exceptional Ariwa vibe. I hope I'm not the only one feeling it this way. I really love the outcome of this outfit. If you would like to see a video on how to make a pencil skirt, please indicate in the comment section, and I'm going to create a video and upload it here for us. And in the meantime, I already posted a video on how to fix your zipper correctly, how to install your zipper at the back of your outfit and avoid any alignment issues at all. To fix a perfect zipper, your zipper will align at the half length, at the upper part. I created that video and already uploaded it. It's the video before this video. So just check on my channel. That's the video before this video you're watching. Make sure to watch it so that you can learn how to install your zipper perfectly without having issues with your alignment. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please make sure to like this video, share this video with your friends. Most importantly, click on the subscribe button to subscribe and put on your notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.